It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be mine? Won't you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Well, good morning from Central Iowa. This is Jim Stordahl, and I am recording my podcast, one of my two podcasts, on a Sunday. It's 50 degrees in Central Iowa and breezy. Wind whipping in out of the north, a cool breeze, so it feels more like 40. And after you've had 65 to 70, 40 with a cool northerly breeze is quite a jolt. So anyway, I went to Starbucks and did my daily routine. I've got addicted to Starbucks coffee, as has my wife, and we are enjoying what they have to offer. Me, I like the Pike Place with a shot of cream, and my wife, she likes the caramel, the iced caramel frappuccino made with skim milk and no whipped cream. And she's added recently a shot of espresso. So that's probably because we're taking care of some grandkids now. We have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old that we get 2 to 3 times a week. And I'm telling you, we both need a little time off after they leave, because it's exhausting. I mean, we raised 4 kids. We raised 4 daughters. And, of course, we were much younger. We had all that energy and working jobs and doing stuff and going to church and going on picnics and going up to northern Minnesota for fishing and visiting the relatives. But we aren't doing that anymore. The relatives have passed on, and we are the senior citizens, and we are holding down the fort here in Central Iowa. And I have been getting much more active in what I can do as far as being an advocate for good, sound mental health. And, of course, we have an ongoing, blossoming, bad situation developing with mental health. And more people are picking up on it and understanding that this is going to be another tsunami. It's going to overwhelm us, because mental health is something that we need to talk about more, because with the pandemic, the last year of being shut down, locked in, restrained in our activities, we're not as socially active. We're supposed to stay distant. We're not supposed to be going out and mingling, and that affects a lot of people. Now, for me, right up front, I've got to admit that I have struggled with bipolar 2 all of my life. I really didn't know I was bipolar 2. I just thought I had some rough patches and a rough road to follow. I did not know that I had diagnosed problems until I started seeing a therapist, when I jumped the stigma hurdle and started talking to therapists about my challenges. And a lot of that came about because our youngest daughter, Betsy, went down hard as an early teenager. She bipolar 1, she had personality disorder, ADD, ADHD. We got involved real quick with therapy and counseling sessions and trips to the hospital, and then There was a couple of police actions. There was a couple of lockup situations. There was some mental health ward situations, and I learned real quick that she didn't develop that on her own. It had to come from somewhere, and so I started doing more research and talking, and I found guidance from her and her counseling sessions that journaling was a very good way to get your thoughts out and to work them out and to process them. And so she was journaling on a daily basis. Always carried a notebook. I'd journal maybe once or twice a week. I'd kind of keep it in my head and roll it around. And then I started writing about 6-7 years ago, and thanks to Amazon and their fine formats, they help you lay it out, process it, make it easy to self-publish. And I'm up to 7 books now. Next one is going to be Orbits. And they run to be about 150 to 200 pages. They're light reading. It is the journal and thoughts of someone who has had confusing thoughts and had sometimes been his own worst enemy. Today, here on towards the end of March, as the basketball games are overwhelming us on TV, I'm down in my basement or my lower level, and we are on Audacity, which is the format that I'm using on my computer to record. And I'm going to start reading from my one of my books called the KMA Syndrome. And it's my feeling that the history books will not be kind to our country when the Trump era is laid out for all of us to see and remember. Now, for me, the disintegration of our moral fiber started long ago. It was small and hidden in the backs of minds. It was the quiet reaction to a variety of stimulation. We, and I say we, baby boomers, I'm a first-year baby boomer, born in 46, been standing in long lines forever. We were mostly value programmed by the greatest generation. You could say some things in public, and others needed to be kept in private. Now we are a jumbled mess of everyone wants to get in their 2 cents worth. Then came those 4 years that we just barely survived when Mr. Trump came along with a song that appealed to the growing population that had stopped waiting to be heard. The part of the population so very tired of being left out. The woe is me crowd. The where is my piece of the pie people. The ones that no longer want to wait to be treated like they thought they should be treated. The I do not care society has been spawned by the hell no, we won't go protesters of the 60s. They have grown into the mess we have today. If you don't like what you are being told, the likely response today is to tell your foe, kiss my ass, or KMA for short. We will never be the same. My bipolar 2 brain does not allow me to focus for long. It appears that years of therapy and medication is helping. I have spent much of my life hiding. I have actively isolated myself from others. Only alcohol could help open the door to my brain pan. My own worst enemy took years developing. I live with low self-esteem. I live with anxiety, depression, and bipolar disorder. I did not learn about the depth of this cluster of mental illnesses until my youngest daughter showed bipolar disorder tendencies at age 14. Her trauma and therapy got me very involved and educated about mental illness. I still keep it quiet most of the time. But since jumping the mental illness stigma hurdle, I have questioned my education and my value programming. Am I off base? Did I perceive training in an alternate universe? Never have I been so confused by the news. Never have I been more afraid of our democracy. Where are all these negative and anti-American, anti-democratic rhetoric? Where's it coming from? My grandchildren have helped ground me. The 45 years of patient guidance and companionship of my wife Charlotte is also a major factor. This book, The KMA Syndrome, is my explanation, for now, of the turmoil I find myself in. This new book is about a frame of mind, a view of the world, the way I perceive what I hear. Whether you see it as good or bad, the following paragraphs tell you what the world looks like from my side of the road. A lot of my perceptions are a direct result of how I was value programmed. For some, it will be a little confusing. For a growing number of you, it will sound like you are right at home. My thought process for this book is the disintegration of the moral fiber in our country, the rise of hate groups, the foul language and actions in the streets. Where have all these wild-eyed, torch-bearing crazies come from? Personally, I am horrified and deeply offended by the increasing number of stories about the rise, again, of racism, both at home and abroad. Former President Trump's rhetoric and actions have empowered the likes of the neo-Nazis, the Ku Klux Klan, still alive, and other white supremacists. Political polarization, now at an all-time high and intensity, appears to feed on the hatred encouraged by the president and his staff. The media has a professional obligation to expose this problem. Republicans must do what they haven't. They need to speak out against the president, and they didn't. For 4 years, they didn't. They didn't tell him there will be no more business as usual. Cowardice is no excuse for permitting unethical behavior. Why have we become so isolated? What happened to thinking like a team or as a community? Where did the checks and balances of knowing your neighbor go? For me, as a 22-year retired military veteran, I have experienced this type of general public behavior before. My business career with the U.S. Postal Service again introduced me to the overall attitude and temperament that leads to this do-nothing behavior, or the more destructive I don't care behavior. The phrase I keep coming up with is KMA. The attitude that appears to be prevalent in the way people treat each other. I checked in with Google and ended up with the Urban Dictionary. KMA means kiss my ass. KMA is the abbreviation for kiss my ass. It is commonly used in the business world to refer to someone's last day of work, either due to retirement or resignation, or being fired. In other words, KMA refers to the day you can tell the people you work for to kiss your ass, because they are no longer your problems. KMA also refers to a project that one does for little or no pay. I'll get those KMA projects after I finish my paying work. It has also been described as the worst insult you can ever give someone, ever. There are growing pockets of followers with the KMA attitude in most every corner of business and life. Many times we laugh it off when we see it on TV, maybe in a situation comedy where one of the characters gives up and adopts the KMA position. We see it in the growing incidence of road rage, where combatants forget their reactions look like to other people. KMA, I have been wronged. Here's something I picked up from www.livelifehappy.com. Sometimes, when you give up on someone, it's not because you don't care anymore. It's because you realize they don't. Now let me say that again. Sometimes, when you give up on someone, it's not because you don't care anymore, but because you realize they don't. We see it in the 40% of broken relationships that ends in separation or divorce. We experience it when the smug and indifferent checkup person mindlessly bags your groceries like a gorilla. It is rampant in all branches of the military and totally controls the workforce of the U.S. Postal Service. That's about 600,000 people. That's another book coming up. The erratic and wild political scene shows all the earmarks of the KMA attitude. Who elected Trump? Where did these people go to school? Did they go to school? How can the Republicans in Congress and Senate show such disregard for the majority of their constituents? For me, I recall being surprised and amused when I first heard the reference in my early years of the Postal Service. I actually thought it was an active club with fervent members. My initial reaction was that this was a product of limited or poor education, the results of years of living paycheck to paycheck and being annoyed by anyone putting on airs. It was, in fact, an inactive club, a frame of mind taken by those who had given up. Welcome to the KMA Club. The explosion that resulted in the disastrous 2016 election is playing out as a new civil war, only with numerous sides. Some of the sides are not very big. Some of the factions are slow to learn. Some groups are violent. Maybe I will have to identify them as orbits, thought bubbles that roam our airspace and will occasionally bump into each other. It appears to me that a growing number of my country have already identified with the KMA Syndrome. It appears so obvious when politicians continue this practice even after they are caught on camera or quoted in the paper. I'm going to stop right there at that page, and I'm going to take that up. I'm going to finish off today's podcast, and I always like to keep my podcasts around the 22-minute mark. I've got to share an op-ed by Leonard Pitts, one of the best columnists I've ever read. And Leonard Pitts, Jr. works for the Miami Herald. And they can contact him via email at lpitts, P-I-T-T-S, at miamiherald.com. And Mr. Pitts goes on. We give a damn too late. Sometimes I think that will be the legacy of this generation. Or maybe I'm just tired of seeing people walking around without masks as if a pandemic had not taken over 500,000 American lives. Then again, I could just be the smoke. On a normal morning, the sky here in Los Angeles is a metallic gray. Today it is a queasy yellow. The sun is blurry and the air smells faintly like a backyard barbecue. The Golden State is burning, dozens of wildfires charring its forests, darkening its skies. One fire that burned north of San Francisco is being called the largest in California history. The previous record holder was just 2 years ago. We have come here, my wife and I, for a family funeral. We drove because we didn't want to end up wedged in an airline seat next to some MAGA hat-wearing COVID denier who thinks being required to wear a mask infringes her civil rights. But we could have saved ourselves the trouble, because from a restaurant in Missouri to a gas station in Arizona, maskless faces are unavoidable all across America. Indeed, some shoot dirty looks when you walk by with your face covered. I can't help thinking of all the times I've seen people like this on the news, sickened, chastened, weakened, and warning their fellow deniers that, as one put it, COVID is no joke. And I always wonder, why was it necessary for them to learn that the hard way? Why did they give a damn too late? Many observers, myself included, have invoked the stoic sacrifices of the World War II generation as sharp contrast to the whiny petulance so prominent in COVID-era America. Our grandparents went without sugar, gasoline, and meat for 4 years. We say, whereas these crybabies are blubbering because they are asked to mask. The comparison is meant to point up our modern selfishness, our inability to pull together. But it occurs to me that misses an important nuance. After all, there was selfishness in the 1940s, too, as attested by a thriving black market that allowed some people to evade rationing. The more telling difference is that nobody in that era had to be convinced the war was real. So the issue is not simply degrees of selfishness, but of ignorance, the willingness to deny, to actively reject empirical fact. Which brings us back to the fire. Experts trace this siege to hotter, drier conditions caused by climate change. Yet, after ignoring the crisis for weeks, there was climate denier-in-chief Donald Trump visiting the state and blaming the disaster on improper forest management, which is a reprise of 2018 when he mused on the need to rake our forests. Climate change activists have been warning for years about bigger natural disasters and more extreme weather. Now we are there. A freak summer snowstorm blankets Denver. A huge chunk of the Arctic ice shelf breaks off Greenland. A record-setting hurricane season pummels the Americas like a boxer working a speed bag. California is burning, and yet where is any sense of urgency or national mission? We give a damn too late. That's because Americans live strung between reality and its alternative, where magical thinking is common and facts denial the law. Now the bill comes due, payable in currency of ashes and fevers, blackened homes, congested lungs, and death. And the payments have only just begun. You wait and hope for those who've moved to reality's alternative to return home. But even if they do, so much damage is already done. Sometimes, when you give a damn too late, it's the same as not giving a damn at all. Leonard Pitts Jr. is a columnist for the Miami Herald. Readers can contact him at email lpitts@miamiherald.com. Anybody want to chat with me? stordal.james@gmail.com. You can also you can Google my name and find me on any social outlet. I'm a mental health advocate, and I'm doing my best to spread some news and give people hope. That's it for today. Bye-bye.